Sleeves here with the Senior Pickleball Report, powered by TNC Network. Let's get it going. Today we speak with Champions Pro Paul Zickert. Paul played the National Pickleball League last year with JBB United out of Naples. This year he's also going to be a captain of the APP Tour Champions Tour Humana Cup. So check out Paul in those places this season. Links below. But before we get to that, if you like this content, consider subscribing to the channel. Also, tons of discounts down in the description for paddles and gear and merch and you name it. Check out our newsletter as well and subscribe for your updates in the Pickleverse. All right, let's get to that conversation with Paul Zickert. Paul Zickert, member of last year's JBB United of the National Pickleball League and captain, one of the team captains of the Humana Cup on the APP Tour. Welcome to the Senior Pickleball Report, Paul.
Hey, thanks a lot, Sleeves. I appreciate it. Good to be here. I love watching all your videos, and yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for everything that you do too and reporting on all this. So much appreciated. And I know everyone else that's been on already loves it. And you're giving a good name to Senior Pro Pickleball.
Well, I appreciate the support and obviously the content. Everybody that I've interviewed, specifically from NPL, it's a dream. I haven't had any conflicts with people canceling or, changing things up. And I get things happen, but everybody's been super sweet, super nice. And I went to 2 events last year and had an absolute blast, just rubbing shoulders with some folks that, are having a really good time and seem to be super grateful. But before we get into any of that, I always start with, this crazy game that took over our lives. So fill me in a little bit about your athletic background prior to, and then how you came across pickleball.
Sure. Yeah. So, I started off with tennis and soccer, back in the day, and I was big into tennis, 4 years varsity in high school, right? I always thought I was actually going to go play afterwards. Actually went and visited the Volunteer Academy when I was a junior in high school.
Fun.
And it was all ready to go. Actually, it was funny. I was talking to my Humana Cup people about this too, because a few of them went to the Volunteer Academy. And I went down and visited and I'm like, yeah, no, I think I still like my friends at home. Like, I still want to go to like prom and like football games and stuff like that. So decided not to do that, but did that. And then slowly kind of moved into volleyball. So got into beach volleyball back in the 80s, mid to late 80s, and started playing that. And then that kind of, I kind of caught onto that and loved it and ended up playing in college. So I played I went to school at Nevada. And played there, and it was fantastic. And ever since then, I coached for almost 30 years, and just recently retired from coaching. I absolutely love the sport and everything.
Right on. Yeah. So before we get into what brought you to pickleball, let's talk a little bit about your volleyball, because that's my background too. I'm trying to remember. I went to a clinic years ago in the early 90s. It was an indoor facility in some suburb of Chicago. And because they had a league down there, like a Midwest Pro League. I think it was called like ML, MVP or something like that. And it's funny because I ended up playing the guy that coached me like 15 years later in an open event at the Motherlode in Colorado. I'm like, hey, I know this dude. So that was kind of cool. And I think I played a tournament. I played at North Beach. Deep sand.
Very deep.
Super
sand.
windy.
Lots of wind. Lots of wind. But back when I was playing and you were playing a little bit, we still had the heavier, the 18 to Spalding. Yeah. The ball didn't blow around like that big balloon they play with today. So no.
Yeah. I used to those are great. Except when they got wet.
Yeah. Well, when
they're a little oblong
on the beach, they got a little heavier trying to pass the ball. When they got it in the water a little bit. So those are fun. Those are fun days on the beach. That was fun going to the pro beach tournaments and those guys are just hanging out on the chairs and guys were right there. And it was just we probably honestly we're probably at a tournament like near or at each other drinking beers
Probably right.
at some point or another.
Probably right.
But yeah, those are the days for sure back in beach volleyball.
Yeah. And, pickleball reminds me a little bit of that. Like, I think I missed my window. I didn't really find the game. I knew of it, but I didn't find it till like 2020, 2021. And I just got done talking to Lee Whitwell, and she said, talking about prior, like sort of that 2015 to 2020 era where, the finals were people shining their car lights to make things bright enough. And it reminded me of the days that, going to a beach volleyball tournament, like you brought up, where you could bring your lawn chair and your cooler and sit right there before everything went corporate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it became a mess on AVP. I think it's still a mess on AVP.
It's still a mess. Yeah. We know where this has headed so far.
I really hope. It's funny. I talked to Kim Jade, right? So Kim.
Oh, yeah.
Kim's,
big player too.
She coached. Yeah. And she coached at UCLA. So both of us knew we have a mutual friend. And so we keep talking. We're like, man, we sure hope this doesn't end up like the AVP. Hopefully it goes well and everyone gets along and it just like continues to progress and it's great. So that's I hope it does, and hopefully people are smarter now than they were back then.
Yeah, and we're pretty early on into this, so at least at the pro tour level. So back to you, how did you get into the game? How did you find the game?
Well, so kind of two parts of this story. So one, I played back in 1987 in gym class my freshman year of high school. Yes, right?
My wife used to teach this game like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was great, right? All they did is they took down the badminton poles and put the net lower, and we just used the badminton court essentially for the lines. And, I was big into tennis back then, and I'm like, what is this game? And I loved it, right? I killed everyone in my gym class, including I took on my teacher and killed my teacher too. And I'm like, oh my God,
this is my game.
Great. Yeah, right. I loved it. And then of course, you get done with that section of gym class and you're like, okay, so where can I play this? And there's like nowhere, like no courts, no paddles, no balls.
It's like floor hockey.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right. I played floor hockey too back in the day.
Yeah.
So that's the first time that I was really introduced to it. And then I'm a COVID baby too, like many others. I went out and one day, a buddy of mine, Jim DeSanto, said, hey, do you want to play pickleball? Like, I hear this is a big thing. And I know you're like into sports and tennis and stuff. And so him and I would just go out and hit the ball and then, play like singles. And the poor guy, I feel bad, but I think I was like 39-1 versus him like the entire time. And he kept going out to play me. And my problem is when I get like really competitive, it's really hard for me to turn it off.
Yeah.
And so, I get into it and we played and we had a good time, but I'm so like super thankful. He brought me into it. And then after that, then I kind of got like a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
And so started to look at like pros around the area. And so then I found John Sikola. John had, he's got a garage up in Crystal Lake, which isn't too far from here in the Chicago suburbs. So went up there quite a few times and did some private lessons with him and started
great guy.
So, oh my God, such a great guy and such a good teacher of the game too. I mean,
I think his channel for instruction is my favorite. He breaks stuff down so well, and he just moves with very little extra effort. I'm like, I think I'm doing that, and then I see a video of me. I'm like, I don't look anything like Simpola.
Yeah. He does. He moves amazingly well. We actually did a video for him on his YouTube channel. It's very early, but I think it was at the time it was like 2 4.5s versus a pro.
Oh, were you one of those dudes?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I watched that. I have to go back.
We took him on and I think one of the games, I forget. I think we might have actually beat him in one of the games. And then the next game, he just like cleaned our clocks. Like it might have been 11-0 or 11-1 maybe. And he's like, okay, enough of this crap. Like,
this is going on the channel.
We're done with this. So it was really fun, but yeah, he's a good guy. And I remember asking him, I'm like, hey, John, like, how do you know, like, I'm starting to get competitive about this.
Yeah.
Like, who else do you know like that, that I can get into the higher level games? And he goes, Paul, don't worry about it. He goes, they'll find you. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And like, he's like, don't worry about it. They'll find you. And sure enough, I just started playing in all sorts of different, suburbs around the Chicagoland area. And sure enough, I started finding those groups and playing better games and getting better drill sessions in. And so here I am now. It's
I mean, you're playing pro ball.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Pretty crazy.
I mean, if you think back, I mean, you probably always had, because I do this, and my wife was a PE teacher. So I remember like about 2004 or 5, she's like, I stopped trying to get these kids to play tennis during this unit because they just jack the ball over the fence and they can't control it. So I came across this game called pickleball. I'm like, what's that? She goes, it's just a wiffle ball and a badminton net you lower. And I'm like, oh. And then I completely forgot about it. But then I was thinking which I'm sure has crossed your mind, like, God, if I would have just started playing in 2005 or you like 1987.
100%, right? Oh my gosh. If I was playing from 1987 until now, like, I'd be like Kyle Yates times 5, maybe. Right.
Right. Yeah. Own paddle, signature paddle.
Right. Oh my gosh. How great would that be?
Paul Zickert Academy.
Yeah. Right. My own little voluntary up in Chicagoland area.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about, I mean, obviously you've the last year or so, year and a half for senior pickleball. And I know it doesn't get a lot of attention because all the spotlight is on what's going on with, obviously MLP and PPA and a little bit on that side for APP. But, you got National Pickleball League. Now you got Humana Cup. You have the Senior Pro Tour. Plus, the tournaments that the PPA and the APP still put on. I mean, senior ball, Champions Tour ball has just blown up. And there's so many opportunities. Talk to me a little bit about, are you surprised by that?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, honestly, with the crazy influx of pickleball, I don't know if I'm surprised at anything that's coming along anymore.
Yes,
but at the same time, too, I hope there's not going to be like 5 more tours.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many more tours we can take on at this point.
Well, there's a Chicago League you're playing in, I'm sure.
There is, there's a Chicago Pickleball League that I do, right, and it's fun and it's a little bit more local, but. It's great. I mean, I think just what you said, there's such a huge influx of people playing it. And listen, there's still a ton of people in the senior age bracket that still, absolutely love the game. And so I think this is where all these leagues are kind of coming from. And I think it's great. It gives all of us a lot of opportunity and flexibility to figure out what our schedules are. And where we want to go play and try to play in different places and try to play against different people. There are so many good, literally a year from now, it's going to be all these other new senior pros that are going to be coming on. Like I already know a bunch of guys that I play with that are former D1 tennis players that are really good, that are just starting to learn the game. And they're going to be good really quick. And it's, it's fun to see. I think the more the merrier, and it's nice to have options out there.
Yeah. And it only makes, people like yourself and others to have to keep evolving their game because it's an endless farm system, whether it's people who are playing open pro right now, moving up like Lee, Whitwell, and obviously Althoff and Deacon and guys like that. But then all the people you talked about who are high level racket sport people coming into this sport that aren't going to need a lot of time, just shorten their stroke and figure out some strategy that are going to be, really good players really fast. Yeah.
It's been fun. I've been playing with it with a guy locally here. We've had a couple tournaments and done fairly well. And he's a former D1 tennis player. I'll give him kudos, Conrad Nowak. So he's a great dude, and but him and like others, he's they're going to come on and start taking some names for sure on the tour.
For sure. Sleeves here, Senior Pickleball Report, powered by TNC Network. Just finishing up a practice session, the world's worst pickleball courts, and been playing with these bad boys for a while. Crown Pickleball, link in the description. Check these out. Great ball. I haven't cracked any yet. Of course, I'm an old man, but really cool ball. Coming pink and this color. They got outdoor, indoor, and I think they're going to be a major player in
pickleballs because, people are starting to kind of, gravitate towards this ball. I know the podcast King of the Court, they love them. I love them. People are talking about them. People are giving them away with their paddles because they know it's a reliable, solid ball. So check out Crown Pickleball. New player in town, and man, they came out with a bang. So love it. All right, folks. Hey, at the end of the day, let's pickle.
Sleeves here with the Senior Pickleball Report, reminding you to check out our podcast, People of Pickleball. That's where I speak with all the people in pickleball, the industry, players, team owners, apparel creators, people that run organizations, people that create apps, you name it. We're talking to them on People of Pickleball. It's in the playlist of our YouTube channel. It's our podcast. Check it out. Lots of good information there, and lots of really cool folks doing amazing things. You can also catch our podcast on Spotify and Amazon. Check out the link in the description. So let's talk about last year a little bit. Obviously, a big monumental year for you playing, getting drafted into the National Pickleball League inaugural season. Really a historic season in any sort of pickleball, but particularly the seniors because they had combine. Obviously, they had a draft. It's very successful first season with 6 teams. My experience just from the outside is what was really nice to see people being treated like professionals and that they were wanted for and they were being cared for. Talk to me about your experience on your team and in the league overall, what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I didn't know exactly what I was getting into. I think I was literally the last guy to make it into the combine. Because someone canceled out, and so they had an extra spot, and sure enough, cool. I made it into the combine. So I was like super happy when I got drafted and heard my name. I was sitting in a car in, I think, Massachusetts somewhere, dropping my daughter off at college, and heard my name watching the live stream, and it was pretty cool to see that.
How fun's that, huh?
Yeah, right. And I was like, wait, what? And I mean, it was really awesome to have that. And but yeah, I didn't have any expectations. Like I didn't know really what I was getting into. I'd done fairly well at other kind of tournaments, that I played in, but the team event, had no clue. But quickly, as soon as I got into it, I figured out, okay, where I was at and what I needed to do and how I needed to get better. But man, I'll tell you, Michael, Beth, and Rick, they did such a great job of putting all this together. I mean, it is definitely first class. They've done a great job of treating everyone really well. Yeah. Making sure everyone's having a good time. Everything is set up for them. Them working with the owners and the owners giving us feedback as well. I mean, I think it's been a fantastic year and it's been a really, really good experience. Like any first year league too, I'm sure they all learned a bunch of new things, right? Or things that they have to change for this next season, which I'm really excited about to see. But it was awesome playing. I mean, it was great playing against Sperling. John Sperling was on my team. And man, I tell you, I learned so much from him, but he was also such a great teacher. Every single week he was giving me, a few things. He's like, hey, Paul, let's try not to, kill the ball through the wall on the other side on the other side. Right. Everyone on my whole team was like, Paul, okay, ease on the power a little bit. I know you play with a Pro Kennex Black Ace. It's got tons of power. And then
it's like a frying pan.
People are getting pissed that I'm hitting it so hard. Right. So it was good. I got that great feedback from him and Julio and Vinay on my team that they were always so grateful to be giving it to us. And to be honest with you, not even people on my own team, but other people like Steve Dawson, he was super helpful too. And it was just nice for people to get together and, yes, we're super, super competitive when we're on the court, but outside of that, everyone's having a good time and partying and laughing and hearing stories. And I mean, it's such a great atmosphere, and I can't wait to be a part of it again.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a bit bad for those who aren't playing senior pro because even prior to NPL, because I follow all the social media stuff because that's what my channel is about. And you can tell, just as you mentioned, people are playing hard, but at the end of the day, they're hanging out, they're having a really good time. And I get it; it's a different thing. You're not playing to make a living like some of these folks who are, you're all of a sudden you're a D2 tennis player. Now you've got to sign a contract to do the X, Y, Z. So I get it's a different thing, but it is a nice place to be in your life. And then, like you mentioned, obviously, Sperling and Dawson, you want to talk about two silky smooth, don't even look like they're working players. And you're like, how is this guy killing me?
Yeah. They work you on the court. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I love watching guys like that because they make the game look so simple. And then you're like, well, why can't I go do that? And you walk out there and you're like, man, it's because they, they're chess masters. They know exactly where they're putting the ball. There's no shot without intent.
Yep. That's a huge thing I learned throughout this year, right? Is playing with intent. And I kind of picked up a little bit of that from my volleyball background, right? One of the things I was always really good at, I used to coach D1 for a little while. I coached on the women's side, and I loved the strategy part of things, right? I loved breaking down film. And I absolutely love doing the same with this, right? I want to be able to break down that film and figure out, hey, if I move the ball here, where's it going next? And what am I going to do with this person? Or how am I going to play against this person? So it's pretty, I love that. I love that part of it. Of
Me too.
Figuring that out. Like that's the really exciting part of it for me. So
it is. And you got to get to a place where you feel comfortable enough in your own game where you can get beyond the technique stuff and start thinking about moving around the court. I coached volleyball too, not nearly at the level you did. I coached high school girls, and I coached at a school that didn't have club players. And we would have to play high school teams that had club players. So I said, listen, this is not a critique of you. You just were, you're born into a different situation, you have different backgrounds. You are playing against volleyball players. And this isn't a rip on you, but you are girls that play volleyball. And it's a different thing. You are trying basically to get the ball over the net and keep it in play. That's not what your opponents are doing because they have this background. And so in order to get them to understand that, I said, here's what we'll do. I'll play you one on 6. And so I just stood in the middle of the court and I got 3 hits. And I played the varsity team and I beat them mainly because I knew as soon as they bumped, they were going to hit cross court hard. I would just move over, boom, that roll line. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. When you get up there, you just like plant, hit, swing, wherever it's going. That's not what they're doing. And so that's where I think I am getting to the point in my own pickleball game is getting out of that headspace where I'm thinking about, just the touch of the ball and all that. And instead going, I got to put it to this backhand here and things like that. So, and you learned that in real time in a league.
I know, right? It was real time. And there was a few of us, honestly, that were new to it and just coming up, just turning 50. And there was a few of us that just got thrown into the fire and you learn real quickly, right? Against the players that have been out there. But, I think that was the fun of it. I think I definitely saw growth from myself from the beginning until the end, for sure. And even where I'm at now, just even a year later, I think I'm totally different than what I was a year ago. So,
right. So let's talk about this year. Obviously, a couple new things for you playing Humana Cup on the APP. Talk to me a little bit about that process, and how you became a team captain and how the team's put together and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the way I became a team captain, I'll literally thank Eva Wilshire for that because she basically told Ken, hey, Paul's a really great guy and he would be a great team captain to do this. And so
good recommendation
enough,
to have.
Ken called me up and said, hey, you want to be team captain? And I'm like, really? Me? There's other people behind me, that are probably better. And he's like, no, absolutely. He goes, Eva said you're a great person and, you have good personality and people would love to have you out there. And so I'm like, sure, absolutely. So it was really fun. I mean, during the drafting process, I knew, a decent amount of people, but not everyone. And I think honestly, all the captains, we ended up helping each other out a little bit on some of the draft people. But man, it's been fun. I mean, we've had one, we went to Punta Gorda. And so we had our first event it was rained out to some extent. We had to modify how the scoring was just because we didn't start until like 3:30 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
But we at least got it in. We actually played Lee Whitwell's team. We beat him 5-1. Don't tell Lee that.
Woo, I won't.
Yeah, I know. She's probably gonna make me buy the next case of beer since I said that.
And she can drink beer.
I know she did. We drank beer while we were there.
Good.
But no, it was really fun. It was just good to get out there. And I think some of the people that hadn't been a part of like the NPL or a part of any kind of team event, weren't really sure how it was going to go. But really quickly, you could see the dynamics change a little bit, and people were cheering each other on and helping each other out. And I mean, it was really good, and it's really, it's really good, and it's high level as well. And it's it was really fun. I can't wait until the next one in Sacramento in like about another month or so to see how that's going to look like. I know there's a lot of subs and stuff like that coming to Sacramento. Some people can't go from the East Coast and stuff, but I think it's still going to be a really good event. So I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've touched on it earlier. The senior pro tours, the player pool is just growing immensely. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this comes out. Humana Cup has 6 teams. NPL's adding more teams, and I think both will probably grow over the years because, like you mentioned earlier, people that are coming from high level backgrounds, people just getting older. It's going to be really fascinating to see what, in particular, the senior game looks like in about the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's going to be lights out. I mean,
I think it's going to be really good. I think, obviously, people are learning to drill a little bit more and playing less games. That's a huge key. And,
we haven't even gone global yet. That's the thing.
No. Yeah. No, it's going to grow for sure. I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's going to look like in definitely 5 years.
Yeah. So let's talk about your individual game. What do you got planned outside of team events, and what are you looking forward to in the upcoming calendar year?
So hopefully I've got the combine. So I'm still going to go to the combine here coming up at the beginning of March in Florida. There's still quite a few new team owners that don't know me and some others. So I'm going to go to the combine and do that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Smart.
I'll go to all the 7 Humana Cup events that we have. And then I think I have like 3 other ones kind of sprinkled in there. So it just depends on the potential NPL schedule too, because that's going to be, 7 and 3. So that's 13. And then I know sprinkling in a few more, that's going to be quite a bit. So I travel. I have a full-time job that I still work, and I travel a decent amount because I'm in the events industry. And so I still do a little bit of traveling for that too. So I gotta watch that. My boss has still gotta like me, to not take too many days off.
Exactly. I mean, you got a couple things near you. have APP Chicago and you have Beer City Open, which isn't too far, which are 2 fantastic tournaments to have right in your backyard, so to speak. So
Yep. No, it's good. So it is nice to do that. I would love to actually do some of the senior pro tour events too. So I'm trying to look at that schedule. Because I know Matthias and folks have done a really good job on that. And I've heard those have been really good too. So I'd love to be able to get out to those and experience those too.
Yeah.
So it could be a fun year, but it's going to be a lot of playing this year for sure.
Well, that's the thing. And I guess that's what's nice and what we talked about earlier is you can pick and choose. Obviously, Matthias and others starting the Senior Pro Tour. And they have a bunch of events. I'm going to try and get to the event. I think they have one in Phoenix and they have one in Albuquerque. And those are the places that are sort of in between where I live. I live in the southwest corner of New Mexico in the middle of nowhere, but those 2 places are about 5 hours away from me. So I may get to one of those. Hope to get to some NPL events again this season and maybe try a combine next year, see where my game is. My biggest issue is I live in the middle of nowhere and finding people to play and beat my ass all the time. But
it's tough. I literally, someone just said that, I've been looking at, we're even looking at like different, maybe like snowbirding or something like that because
I'm going to have to go places and stay a while. I have family obviously in the Wisconsin southeast corner. And obviously there's a lot of ball there, which we talked a little bit about. And
I get to know more people too, so I can go and pay some visits and hang out and get my butt kicked by them too. So
yeah. But people are like, if you leave January, February, March in Chicago, which by the way, no one wants to be here in those months.
Right.
I mean, we even think of like North Carolina coast or something like that. They're like, who are you going to play against? And I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good thought. I'm not sure.
Although all these, these communities are popping up with all these great players now.
This is true.
Seems to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, before we get you out of here, talk a little bit about getting sponsors you want to mention and kind of what you're looking forward to the most in the near future playing wise.
Yeah. Well, sponsor wise, I'm actually working on a few. So I'm not sponsored by Stack, but I will point out Stack. So A Anapit, she runs this company. I think her and her partner run this, and it's a nonprofit, and they put all the proceeds back into fixing up pickleball courts. So I love A stuff. They've got great shirts and great hats, and so I've been wearing those quite a bit. I was playing actually with Pro Kenix, and I'm in the middle of a paddle change right now, and I'm working on potential sponsorship. So
okay, cool.
So hopefully more to hear on that, but something that will give me maybe a little bit more control. And it's been working out pretty well. So, but yeah, it's been fun. And then there's some indoor courts too that are opening up around the Chicagoland area, and so I'm trying to get affiliated with those too. So I got some things working and seeing if I can get into. So I'm keeping the options open, but hopefully some of them will work out. And then this year, I mean, listen, I'm just looking to grow and trying to continue to learn as much as possible. So I'm trying to see if I can work with some of the other, top pro players too. Yeah. And for a couple of days and get with them and learn some new techniques or learn some new things to kind of look at from like a strategy perspective. Right. But yeah, I'm hoping to grow. I'm trying to do a really good job of not keeping my eyes on results. Right. Yeah. Right. I think that's hard. Right. They always say if you're looking at results, then you're doing the wrong thing. Right. Yeah. You should be looking at the progress and a journey of what you're doing, and the results will come. And so that's where I'm at. I think in my career is I'm just trying to continue to train and grow and learn and just continue to get better. And I think my results will get there. And I've seen that a little bit at the end of last year. I've started to have some good results. We got a fourth in Houston, and that was good. And we almost beat one of the top tier teams, and that was good for us. But that's baby steps along the way. So I'm looking forward to it. But it should be really fun this year on the APP and hopefully the NPL too. I'm very blessed to be able to have this opportunity and get my athleticism back in my 50s. And since I've been coaching for so long, it's fun to have like my competitiveness back. And, I've done a lot for my body to I've been working out a ton. I know that people see a lot of my Instagram posts. I saw you, man. With the said my legs were shaking. I'm like, man, that's no joke, dude. I was literally after that session, I didn't tell my trainer yet, but after that session, I was literally sitting in the kitchen making dinner and my legs literally were shaking from doing that. It was really sad, but they were. But I know. So a bunch of my buddies, they all make fun of me for posting those things. I used to be that guy, like, why are you posting that stuff? But I've actually gotten really good feedback from people that are like, hey, listen, I know you post that stuff and thanks for doing that. Like, it's really motivating me to like start working out and like taking this a little bit more serious. And so I think for me, like that's hopefully now I'm kind of giving back a little bit and people are seeing it for that and not just being like, oh my God, I can't watch this dude work out. Right. So I think what you're showing obviously is what it takes to play at a particular level. I mean, you're not doing this because it's fun. You're doing this because on the court, you want to be a competitive winning player. And if you're not, I mean, you can get killed out there. These folks it's no joke what's going on in these senior level games. I mean, they are out for blood and they will take you out. The ball moves really, really fast. I mean, people think they hear Champions Pro or Senior Pro and they're like, oh, you're just like popping the ball over the net. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, you should come watch a match.
You got to see it in person.
TV, even watching myself on TV, like, it just doesn't look like as fast as it normally is. And it's totally different. And it's, but yeah, you're right. I mean, listen, if I'm going to do this, like, I want to throw everything at it. So I've got
window.
a team. I've got a team around me. MH Athletics, she's my trainer, and Yap Sports Massage Therapy. She helps me out. And Sullivan Acupuncture, I do acupuncture and cupping. So I'm trying to, like, do it all and just make sure my body is that's the last thing I want to worry about, is my body being able to keep up, and I want my mind to do the work. And so, I'm probably in the best shape I have been in like 20, 25 years easily.
Yeah.
And it's, and so I'm looking forward to, having all that kind of pay off over this next year. So it should be a fun 24 for sure.
For sure. I mean, you had a great 2023, good start to the season. A lot to be proud of. Obviously, you played in 2 team pro level events, and you're knocking on the door in the tournament. So well done, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for having me on. And again, thanks for supporting Senior Pro Pickleball. I appreciate it.
You bet, brother. It's Paul Zickert, played for JBB United last season. We'll see who he lands with this season. National Pickleball League, captain of a Humana Cup team and the APP Tour. Look for him out there. You're in the Chicagoland area. Probably come across him and he'll kick your butt. Don't play him in volleyball. All right, Paul. Thanks for your time, man.
All right. Thanks, Sleeves. Appreciate it.
All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed our conversation with Paul. All the info on Paul in the description, as well as our newsletter as well. And at the end of the day, folks, hey, let's pickle.